left other. Okay, this video is about traveling in Central Asia. You've heard about those countries. They usually end with stan, which means country. Yep, right, these. This video includes travel information, impressions and tips about traveling in Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and a tiny little bit about Kyrgyzstan. I want to give a general idea about how it is to travel in those countries solo, with your backpack, overland, and on a budget. But if you're wondering why you should go there, what is there to see in Central Asia, let me tell you, you should go there, and there's a lot to see. If you need some motivation, you can click right here. I put a small best of together to get you motivated, and you can just come right back here to this video. And these are the topics we're going to talk about. So first of all, my travel itinerary. After that, visa and border crossing procedures. Then first impressions and experiences, so like the people, the culture, the landscape. And that's going to be about accommodation and transportation. After that, tips and some other stuff. And then we're going to finish it off with a short conclusion. If you're interested in only one of those countries, you can check out the description box below. There are time codes, so you don't have to go through the entire video. Before we start, I want to emphasize that I'm not going to go too much into detail because I want to leave room for you to explore those countries, and I want to keep this video as short as possible. Okay, let's get started. So this is my travel itinerary. I came in from Iran to Turkmenistan. Here I visited the door to hell and stayed for a few days in Konya, Urgench, before I left for Uzbekistan. Here I did the very standard route, so first stop was Khiva, then Bukhara and Samarkand. From here I traveled to Tajikistan with two other travelers. We made a small stop in Dushanbe before heading down to Georg along the Afghanistan border. Here we did a small hike in the mountains for 2 days. After that we got a car and a driver and we went on the Vakhan Valley, also known as the Vakhan Corridor, until the Pamir Highway, and finished it off in Kyrgyzstan. From here I went to China. So I spent about 1 month in Central Asia during August and September last year. Getting a visa for this country is usually not a big problem. Kyrgyzstan, for example, we could enter right at the border. We didn't need to prepare anything. Uzbekistan, though, you have to get a visa in advance. From what I know, you can't get it on arrival. Tajikistan offers e-visa, which is super convenient. It only takes a few days. The visa for Turkmenistan, though, is a little bit more difficult than the other countries because Turkmenistan is very isolated and kind of difficult to get into. You can apply for a visa for Turkmenistan in Iran, for example, in Tehran or Mashhad, and you can also apply for it in Uzbekistan. In either cases, you need the visa for the next country after Turkmenistan. So if you're coming from Iran, you're going to Turkmenistan, then you need your visa for Uzbekistan already in your passport. Otherwise, it's probably impossible to get into Turkmenistan. So I did it through a visa agency back home. They first applied for my Iranian visa and then for my Uzbek visa, leaving a gap of 5 days between those two, so I could get the visa for Turkmenistan. This is probably the safest way to get into that country. But also me, I didn't get the visa in my passport for Turkmenistan. I had to get it at the border. So I got a permit letter, and at the border I got the actual visa and had to pay again, which in total costs about more than 100 USD, which is quite expensive. So if you don't have to go through Turkmenistan, you might think about it twice getting a visa for that country. But believe me, all the other countries are much more easier and hassle-free to get into. Which is also the next topic, crossing the border, which is usually not a big issue. You just have to have your visa ready and some passport pictures if they ask for it. But also be prepared that they might search your phone or your computer for pornographic footage or any footage they don't like. So this happened to me when I was leaving Uzbekistan. A guy went through my pictures on my phone, through all of them, and he saw a video I took of a street control point and he didn't like it, so he just deleted it. So right after the border is kind of annoying getting anywhere. I often had to get a private car until the next bigger city or bus station. Okay, let's talk about impressions and experiences. Number one, the people of Central Asia. In all countries, the big majority of the people were super nice and friendly. When you go travel in Uzbekistan, for example, you often get invited to family celebrations. Weddings, for example, you name it. The same happened to us in Tajikistan. So people are very friendly and welcoming. Also in Turkmenistan was taking a night train. People were super nice. We were eating together and drinking tea. It was really cool. Even though communication can be a problem unless you know some Russian or any of the other local languages. So most of the people do speak a bit of Russian due to the Soviet Union. In places with more tourists, you can get along with English quite well. If not, then just use your hands and feet. And don't forget to smile. So food, which is the next topic, is quite meaty. There's mutton in almost everything except for the salads. So I had a lot of bread and nuts actually. So if you're on a vegan vegetarian diet, it's just good to go to a market and buy some nuts, seeds and dried fruits just to have it as a backup, because they have really nice raisins, for example, and just fruits in general was super nice. I had the watermelons, the honey melons and grapes, very delicious. But other than that, it might get a little bit difficult if you don't eat meat. Religion. As you might know from my best of, there's a big influence from the Islam, so we'll see many mosques, mausoleums and so on. If you visit them, please dress accordingly. Other than that, there's not much else to say. Landscape-wise, Central Asia offers a big diversity. From the desert in Turkmenistan to the mountains in Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, there are lakes, rivers, beautiful hikes. If you're a nature person, Central Asia is the place to be. Safety. I felt safe most of the time, maybe because I usually was hanging out with other people and travelers. But I say as a tourist, Central Asia is not a particularly dangerous place. I did not feel so safe twice. The first time was in Turkmenistan when I was homeless and sleeping on a bench outside a village. I just didn't feel uncomfortable, maybe that's why. And the second time was when we were on a car from Dushanbe to Horok and we were going next to Afghanistan border, and then this happened. There's just one thing, in Tajikistan, if you're doing the Vakhan Valley, from what we've been told, it can happen that the Taliban in Afghanistan takes over villages in the very north of Afghanistan, so that it's actually at the border with Tajikistan, where the Vakhan corridor is. But still, even then, we've been told that it's safe to be there. Let's talk about scams. I don't think that I got scammed, not that I know of. I mean, of course, maybe when I was exchanging money, I was not giving the best rate. Or it happened once when I was buying a bus ticket and the driver refused to give me change. But I didn't feel like I got really scammed, like on a high scale. So I would say that people in Central Asia are very genuine. Okay, let's talk about money and how much you're gonna spend. First of all, if you go to Central Asia and you're bringing a foreign currency, bring US dollars. US dollar is king. You can also bring euros if you don't have USD, but USD is usually better and more accepted. As always, have some spare notes so you can exchange some money in case you can't find a working ATM that accepts your credit card, because this actually happens quite a lot. So my budget was 30 euros a day, about 35 US dollars, which is a very reasonable budget, including everything: transportation, accommodation, visa, food, you name it. You can definitely be lower than that, but I think 30 euros is a quite comfortable area to still have a place to sleep.
So this is how I slept.
Dorms are usually 10 USD per night, which is not super cheap, but still affordable. Food was pretty cheap overall, not very expensive. Transportation as well. The only thing that kind of makes it a little bit more expensive is that you have to pay entrance fees for all the sites. Another thing that might blow your budget is the Pamir Highway and the Vakhan Valley. If you want to travel there, you need a driver with a car for several days, which means you also have to pay the driver's expensive, accommodation and food. We were 7 people at that point, which was really nice, so we could share the cost. If you're alone, it's going to be super expensive. But if you're going to do the Pamir Highway, you're probably going to start in Horok, and there you will find a lot of fellow travelers to share the costs with. Accommodation and transportation. As I mentioned before, accommodation is about 10 USD per night for a dorm. Most places have hostels and guest houses where you can stay. You can usually find them on Hostel World or similar pages, or also on the map app, maps.me. Turkmenistan, again, is the only exception. Here is kind of difficult finding a proper budget accommodation. In Ashgabat, for example, it's basically impossible. So I didn't stay there. I took the night train on the same day that I arrived. But I made this guy, and he actually stayed at the airport in Ashgabat. So if you're in Ashgabat and you want to stay there for more than a few hours, you can probably sleep at the airport to save some money. Another thing about Turkmenistan, you're not allowed to sleep at people's places. So because it was really expensive, I was trying to ask people if I could stay at their home. People are very hospitable, they're very welcoming, but you're just not allowed to sleep at their places, so they refused, which I totally understand. So there is probably not that possible, but in the rest of Central Asia, Uzbekistan, for example, couch surfing is actually a thing, so you could try to that if you want to save some money. But Uzbekistan is also the place where you have to register. So if you're staying at a hostel or a guest house, they will do the whole registration for you, and you will be handed like little tiny papers that you have to keep until you leave the country, because it could happen that at the border, at the airport, you will get asked for those little papers and then just have to show them, and there's no problem at all. So transportation is not usually an issue. You always get from one place to another. It's just a little bit different from country to country. So in Turkmenistan, for example, I took a night train from Ashgabat into the desert, which was first incredibly cheap and comfortable. I also took a bus, which was also incredibly cheap. I don't know the exact prices anymore, but I think the bus was about 5 euros. In Uzbekistan, I only took shared cars, which might sound expensive, but this was actually quite common and not too expensive. They also have a train in Uzbekistan, which you can take, but when I was there, I've been told that the train is full and I couldn't get a ticket, which was apparently not the truth. But if you're in Uzbekistan, you can also take the train. So, tips and stuff. What I usually say, don't over plan. Just go there, bring enough time and see what's gonna happen. Try to meet some locals and fellow travelers and go on some adventures. Just try not to get lost in the dark. Not cool.
I'm fucking lost. I'm fucking lost. Hello!
Everything can be organized on the spot. The only things you need are your visa, and if you want to do the Pamir Highway, you need the GBAO permit, which you can obtain with your e-visa for Tajikistan as well. If you get the permit, always have it with you, as there are many checkpoints on the Pamir Highway. And don't go during winter unless you want to go skiing. So I was in Kyrgyzstan during the middle of September and it was already pretty cold, but also I didn't bring enough warm clothes. I was actually kind of freezing a bit, but then there was a fellow traveler who gave me his jacket. I still have it, which was really nice of him. Also Kyrgyzstan, I do regret that I only visited one place there because I didn't have enough time. But if you go there, do the hikes, do the trekking and sleep in a yurt, is probably pretty amazing. And another Central Asian thing that you might or might not want to witness is buzkashi. Buzkashi is national sport of Afghanistan and super popular amongst its neighbors. It's like polo, just with a decapitated sheep. It sounds macabre, I haven't seen it, but if you're interested in it, there's a link in the description box below which tells you a little bit about the rules and how this sport works. Okay, conclusion. Go to Central Asia. It's worth it. It's not too difficult to travel around. It's affordable and it's super interesting and diverse. The people are friendly. The landscape is amazing. Follow the remains of the ancient Silk Road and emerge in a different world. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If there's anything that I forgot to mention, then just write a question and put it in the comment section below. If there's anything that I said that is wrong or you disagree with or you have made different experiences, let me know. If you go to Central Asia, I hope that you will have an amazing time. Send me a postcard. That's it. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye.